Welcome to Seven Trumpets Prepper Channel, and guys, welcome to another edition of the Hard Truth Show. I believe this is stream 71, and guys, today we're going to be hitting a very heavy-duty subject that has to be handled with kid gloves because of don't want to have a community guidelines violation over here on YouTube land. Don't want to offend the powers that be, and also need to approach this in a way where that this is not hate speech, because I'm not here to hate speech anyone. I'm just going to point out obvious things that are going on, and you can form your own opinions and make your own decisions to how you guide your life, your family's life, and etc. With that said, real quickly, for those that are new to the channel, if you haven't been here before, I stream usually either the night before Sabbath or the day of. And if you want to know when that is, you can check it out on the free World's Last Chance calendar app that has the biblical scriptural calendar use on it. It's available for Android or Apple iOS devices. And also, guys, you can check me out over on Odyssey, where that all my content, especially that gets taken down from YouTube, goes over to the Hall of Fame playlist. Pretty much is what I call Odyssey nowadays, is my Hall of Fame playlist over there, because it has all my content plus what YouTube takes down over here. All right. And guys, if you haven't seen some of the recent streams, got the bank failures, AI, CBDCs, robots, the end of the US dollar. Then we had the new moon, the key to the creator's calendar and proof of true timekeeping. And then today we're going to be talking about, and that was Elder Troy Miller was on here with me on that one, guys. And if you keep your eyes open, I'm going to have another one up soon. Whenever his book gets published, we're going to have him back on, probably Brother Joel as well. And then we had They Are After the Hearts and Minds of the Children. Now, that's what we're going to be discussing today. All these agendas, the transgender that's going on right now, and all this stuff. And once again, I have to premise this. This is not hate speech. There is an obvious agenda going on that is exploiting the LGBTQ community, that is exploiting normal people. When I say normal people, I mean people that don't subscribe to the LGBTQ mindset. All right. Thank you. I appreciate the that, guys. The intro, I had done some work on that. Rick, I will have to look. I have got a ton of phone calls, emails, and I have took off the past 7 days and went to Florida with my family and had a great time. And I just shut down on life, and that was amazing. Just to put everything in park and be with my family. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to get into this. And once again, I want to very clearly lay this out, because I know somebody will be a hater and they will flag this for YouTube to look at it, is that I am trying to set a baseline that children are being exploited. Our current generation upcoming is being exploited because they've tried to kill the baby boomers and the elderly generation. They've tried to jab and toxify the current generation. And now they are trying to destroy the upcoming generation by any means they can and exploiting them any way they can. All right. So with that said, let me pull this up. And I want to say this real quickly to everybody. If you don't know what this is the monthly creators notification that they send out. This is how your channel did last month, they said. I was given this in the email, and I had to share this with you guys, because if you notice, it says 0 new subscribers. All right. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I've been in this show a long time. I've been on this platform a long minute. I have never seen an absurdity like that right there. All right. Now, if you don't think this channel is being suppressed, I just wanted to put that out there for you. All right. So please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And guys, if you'd like to help financially support my work on here, I would greatly appreciate it, because YouTube land ain't going to help support me financially for anything that I do anymore. So I greatly appreciate any donations. It's appreciated. All right. And links for that, Cash App, PayPal, crypto, the whole 9 yards. It's in the link in the video description below. All right. But I want you to see right there that if you step out and you try to be a voice out here anymore, now that right there is just how much I'm loved on here. Not to mention, whenever I went over 100K subscribers, still to this day, I am ineligible. Not because I had any community guideline violations or anything like that anymore. They just find that my content is not acceptable to receive a reward, an award or something like that's what they said. So listen, I ain't saying this to cry about stuff. I'm saying this to point out this is what happens when you tell people the truth. All right. All right. So the first thing that I want to cover on my topics today is that we're living in a time where everything is being redefined. Now, I said this probably 10, 11 streams back, probably. I've touched on this before, is that we're living in a time where that you can't have a reasonable, meaningful discussion with people, because what used to be the definition of something is now being redefined. So if I say, well, listen, the sky is blue. Well, I don't identify as the sky is blue. I identify that it's green. Well, whenever you're having a conversation with someone and that's their mindset, you're never going to reach a meaningful conclusion, because they're mentally checked out, that they won't even look at things on the same level that you've tried to look at it with them. All right. Shalom to everybody piling in. And shalom, much love to everybody that's watching this after this is live. All right. So, yes, it absolutely. It just gets more evil as time goes on. We haven't seen nothing yet. We really haven't. I mean, we really haven't. We're not even, in my personal opinion, in Sodom and Gomorrah mode 2.0 yet. But I am not sure who is people anymore. Absolutely. Yeah. Boy, we could get all into an NPC conversation. But we need to understand that, if you look up, and guys, I threw a ton of Google snippets in here today because I just wanted to show you how quickly people can actually find this stuff out if they wanted to. So I wrote redefining definition, and the definition is ground or present, to define again or differently, right? And when you look at that here's an example they wrote out: her attempt to redefine postmodernism along more political and social cultural lines, right? Well, whenever you start redefining something, the baseline in which all things have been addressed over time, the goalpost gets moved. So you're not even having a conversation anymore from a baseline where people can even understand and it resonate, right? Hey, shalom to those out there, man. We got everybody in the building today. We got people all the way from Australia. Much love to you. Yes, absolutely. And it's going to get more and more, my man, as the time goes on. All right. So I started looking into this, and I actually went to school in the past 24 hours for real, to just see all I could understand about the LGBTQ community, because they don't understand is that they are being the current tool to be exploited. And then once they're exploited, they'll be cast aside just like everybody else. Just like right now, I'll give you an example. Like there was this whole thing, I remember probably less than a year or two ago, is that white people were just the plague of the earth. I remember that being such a thing going around for a while. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, okay, so it's okay to put on a pride t-shirt or black pride or Asian pride, but if I put on a white pride shirt, I would literally be labeled a racist and a KKK member in the whole 9 yards. And it's interesting to me how certain groups are used, exploited, and then demeaned as evil. And now, like I'm pointing out, especially if somebody's in the LGBTQ plus, I think is that where they're at this point, community, or however it's defined, is that you may want to listen to what I have to say today too, because that there is a serious exploitation, which eventually I have great fear for y'all that will turn around into immense hatred here very soon, just because of certain things that's went on and is continuing to be pushed and used by the media for your exploitation and other people that don't ascribe to that lifestyle. So I started looking into this, and I was like, all right, so literally this pronoun thing, all right, was one of the things that stuck out to me. And I was like, help me make it make sense. And so there's this zir self and zim self and here self and per self. And like, this is literally like, this is legit, guys. Like, this is stuff that's being shown to people, taught to people, expressed by people, right? And I started looking at the numbers. I was like, all right, right now, they're really trying to exploit minorities. And also, in doing so, they're using these to destroy the upcoming generation by pushing certain thoughts, process, and beliefs onto people, right? So I looked it up, and this is a Gallup poll, all right? And that shows that, now I follow millennials. I was born in 85. I thought I was a Gen Xer, like late Gen Xer, but they consider now from 81 to 96. So I was born in 85, so I fall in the millennial category. But if you notice from 97 to 04, the Gen Z group, 20% of all identifying as in the LGBT community, 20% almost is within that realm. Okay, so you can see how that there wasn't much, and then all of a sudden there's this huge leap. All right, now I like to look at multiple statistics. So this one here, this was surveys done, collected, and this was between the first of the pagan Roman papal Gregorian satanic calendar instead of the scriptural calendar. This was done from the first month of it to the 12th month in 2021. You can see here that just a little over 20% self-identified as LGBTQ, and that was Gen Z. So 20% of people identified as in that community. Now, I found this very interesting. So out of 12,000 adults, let me add that up real quickly here. Let me tell you how many people that was. 12,416 divided by, let's see, well, we need to do it by 5. As 2,483 of those people identified as someone in that community. All right. Now that's some heavy hitting stuff right there. That's really, really heavy hitting. And now we're going to touch on this the way of is Yahushua. We're going to touch on that in a minute. Demons are totally taking over people. I want, yeah, absolutely, folks. Please hit the like button. Please hit the like button, because I'm going to tell you what, one day when people like me ain't around no more, y'all going to miss them. All right. And I went one more Pew Research. Now they have covered like a lot of political stuff, I think, over the years and things. So I looked at theirs, and Gen Z more familiar with non-binary pronouns. % of U.S. adults who know someone who prefers gender-neutral pronouns. Gen Z, it was 35. Okay, 35% of that. And I was like, wow. I was like, okay, so I was like, no, we're entering an interesting realm here where we're encouraging self-mutilation. We're encouraging people to be non-binary, and we're encouraging people to use pronouns. We are literally removing people from being a sentient being process to a multi-configuration omegation, where that a person is no longer an individual. Like, they're removing individualism. All right. And so what I started looking at on a deep level is that there has to be a start point. Is that if you, and now this link is in the video description already, so if you just want to go ahead and pull this up, you can take a look at this later on the side right now while I'm speaking on, if you want to play it low or put captions on and view it on the side screen. Is that Aaron Russo did a presentation, documentary thing, whatever you want to call it. And one of the things he was talking about in an interview is that the women's liberation movement was created for 2 reasons by the Rockefellers pushing it, was to tax the other 50% of the population, which was women, and to break up families, because it would put the woman in the workforce and the children in the school indoctrination camps. Okay. And that was important because they wanted to get them in there so that they could start indoctrinating them with what they wanted them to believe sooner. Yeah. And yeah, very interesting info he put out there. Very, very interesting. And so what come of that is that with time progression, they have we have this situation where the baby boomers and stuff like that, they have tried to do assisted suicide and things of that nature. I mean, I literally took my family to a Lego show in Chattanooga. And as I was leaving the convention center, there was a sign. I think it was a banner thing promoting that if you go to Canada, they now encourage you to do assisted suicide there, and then they will harvest your organs for organ donation or whatever. Like, it was literally being marketed. And so they've learned that on the baseline, they were like, okay, well, the men are away. The women are the guiding light in the family. And they are reflecting the values of the husband, because the man is going to choose a mate as close as possible to his mindset. And he's going to want those views reflected into the children they produce together. Well, then whenever you remove that reflection, then you can put that child into whatever thought process you want with the process of time, pushing said values, beliefs, etc., into their minds that you want through the school indoctrination camp system. And so whenever I looked at this, I'm like, okay, so we backpedal to this. From the women's liberation movement forward, what we have here is that the woman's been separated from the home. The child's been put in the school system. Time goes by. The elderly, they're trying to delete or encourage them to self-delete. The middle-aged group of people up to the elderly in the past, from 2019 to 2022 and kind of post-forward, they're trying to damage and contaminate everyone's DNA. And then now that agenda is kind of fizzling. So the next thing is to push the self-mutilation and pronouns and non-binaryism and all this stuff on the youth. And here's the thing that's intriguing to me is that I looked into this too. And throughout all the course of the history of humanity, you have things like homosexuality, pedophilia, I hate to say it, bestiality. A lot of this stuff has went on for millennia. But one thing you see is only as of recent, and when I say recent, I'm talking in just like maybe 2 decades, if that, excuse me, is transgenderism. Now, this is a new thing. And please note that as I'm speaking on these things, I'm speaking from like a narration standpoint. I have not even, to my knowledge so far, voiced opinions on these things. Now, I'm going to voice opinions on these things. I'm going to voice observations. But I'm trying to set for you a baseline as we get into this of where things are headed. Because if you're a person that is a parent, like I have a little girl going on, about to be a 2-year-old come the turn of next winter, I've got an 18-year-old son. I'm thankful he's an adult, can see these things, but, I'm still raising another child that's a toddler. And there is a ton of stuff going on in the background. And it's going to get worse, folks. And when I looked this up, I've tried to be non-biased on how I viewed this stuff. I pulled this up from No Peace Without Justice, I guess is the website or whatever. And in their thing, they published this in 2017 by LGBTQ Nation. It said that a Christian minister and failed Republican politician E.W. Jackson made a stunning, stupid claim on his radio show this week, saying those who use the gender non-conforming they, them pronouns are doing so because they are possessed by multiple demons. Excuse me just a second, guys. All right. They go on to say that the only single individual I'm familiar with who spoke from the plural pronoun was Legion. He added, referencing the biblical story where Yahushua cast out demons out of the man. All right. Think about that. You're not being referred to by the single he or she, the plural pronoun they. Who is they in there? We know who they in there is a bunch of devils, he concluded. Now, here's the thing. Oh, I bet that wouldn't surprise me at all right there. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But I got to thinking about this. I was like, well, now this is one side of the LGBTQ community that said this. Then I was like, well, now does that really reflect their values? Because I actually went in no time flat, and this is what's actually sponsored by Amazon. Now you can see the multicolor rainbow in the goat. You can see that it says Satan respects pronouns. And there's actually a movement within the trans community that are not only Satanist, but actually support the pronouns as part of the satanic movement. So when I went back to this, I'm like, okay, they may not have been that open in 2017, but in 2023, it is as clear as day. And matter of fact, this, which I'll get into the Target thing in a minute, it actually got heavily promoted while Target was getting blasted. They were actually this one of the artists or whatever that was part of their sales merch and everything actually was coming out promoting this, which I think also led to a massive loss in their revenues and profits and sales and everything. But nevertheless, you actually do see this reflected in that community. So what they wrote here wasn't actually legitimate anymore now, because I went and did my own research, and I'm like, well, actually, there is in the trans community a massive proponent of Satan worship. And on top of that, there is a massive proponent that respects that pronouns are part of that satanic movement. So I was like, that's not actually a fair argument anymore. I'm just presenting what is out there. You can go do your own research, your own due diligence on this, but this is part of a massive movement. Lucas, what's the return? Oh, I'll have to check that out, guys. Thanks for that. All right. Now, so I got to thinking back. I was like, well, I remember the storybook, the drag dress up storybook time with children. And I was like, number one, what the flip is parents thinking? Like, I mean, seriously, like, I don't know what people were thinking doing this. It blows my mind. I really don't. And once again, you know, you could pay to have actors come and say it and bring children and say it and make it look like they're actually having a story time thing. Who knows? You know, but when I got to looking into this, I was like, okay, actually, one that got promoted heavily, if you look at the deity that person actually is trying to represent during story time, it is the deity of lust, greed, excess, pain, pleasure, perfection, and hedonism. And I got to looking at that, and I was like, okay, so they know exactly what is going on in this particular dynamic here that is being presented and pushed on children. Now, what I want to inject at this point is the point in case I'd like to make. One of my top points that I'd like to make today is that anything to do with current events, when people talk trans, when people talk LGBTQ, when people bring up any of this stuff, you are talking about a sexual agenda. You are talking about a sexual activity. You are talking about something that has to do with sex. And when you do that, and you acknowledge, okay, that is a factual statement. Okay, that's a factual statement. We can all level on that, right? When you come from that definition, knowledge, and standpoint, because that is the LGBT community has to express this at the front of it, because it is about sexuality and it is helping people understand where these people do define as their sexuality. Well, whenever you come to that conclusion, okay, and then everybody's like, yeah, that's we're on the same page. Well, then whenever you have that presented to children, you are saying, I am so-and-so presenting a sexual idea to children at 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 years old. That is something that should throw red flags up anywhere. Like, there is literally sexual education is not even taught to children until a certain age in school. But you are presenting sexual ideas to children at extremely young ages, where that I would say that the mind hasn't even been developed enough to make a clear, rational decision on anything, let alone sexual orientation. That's a very interesting thought process as well. Yep. And guys, I can't say I agree or disagree with y'all on some of these things today, because I do not want this content pulled. I just want to present this knowledge to people so that you can make clear, concise, informed decisions about the things that are put forth in front of your children, because this is a insane direction that we are heading currently. And I would have never even pictured some of this stuff like 10 years ago. I mean, even as little as probably 5 years ago. All right. So moving forward to that, when you consider upon that, I've seen one of, I think he's of India, from India. I think he's from India descent. And I think he's running for, gosh, I actually think he's one of the people trying to run for presidential candidate. But anyway, it was him, I believe, that presented recently that transgenderism is a mental health condition. And once again, that's not me saying that. That's quoting from another source. That way, I'm not in hot water on anything I say today. I'm just trying to narrate a mini documentary, I guess you would say here, is that I took this one, for instance, from the Nashville shooting that took place not far from me here in Tennessee. And I considered upon the matter. I was like, okay, this person got so far mentally defective that they decided they would go and shoot someone trying to help them. Now, that right there screams to me there is a mental health condition with this person. And when you start looking at consistencies, okay, well, what was the consistencies? Well, they wanted violence. They had transgenderism on their mindset. You start ticking all these boxes, then, you know, it makes that person that's running for political office, their point in case they were making, it starts to lend credence that they may be on to something, because now this is not an isolated incident. Following this incident, oh, and another thing is, I got it there where you can see it zoomed up, is you can see that they said it was an AR-15, I believe, that the person had, but that's actually a Caltech. I think it's sub 2000. It is where it's the folding like 9mm that takes like Glock mags or whatever, or the XD mags. I think you can get it in 2 styles. But see, that's misinformation. And another thing is the media is so out of touch that they just don't even care at this point. Like if they say it, they just in their own minds have concluded that it's just legit. All right. So anyway, this is not an isolated incident. Now, what I would go on to say about this is that homosexuality has been around for a long time. The LGBTQ community has been around for a long time. But one thing that hasn't been around a long time is transgenderism, and this notion and this premise and this ideal being promoted, and in the same coupling, so much physical violence attached with it. All right. And you can start looking at the statistics on that on your own. But that is definitely a legitimate point that needs to be made. And so I got to looking into this. Like I said, I went to some serious educational thought process over the past 24 hours, especially. I've been putting this together for like a week and a half, ever since I knew that the month that I celebrate being born in is that it always ends up, that's the month of Pride Month. But I'm like, whatever. So I go and I look this up, and that in the rainbow, in an actual color spectrum, okay, like even looking through like a prism kind of thing, right, is that the colors of the rainbow are red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. I feel like I'm singing that song from Miss Rachel that my daughter watches on YouTube. But anyway, if you look at the rainbow flag, which represents the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender movement, right, is that as you can include here, it says that there is red, orange, yellow, green, indigo, and violet. I'm like, well, that was intriguing. I was like, blue was missing. And I was like, for those, now I knew this out the gate pretty much, all right, but I wanted to just make sure and get this out there for everyone else to see. Why is blue so important in the rainbow, right? Well, the heavens and the word of Elohim are represented by blue, okay? The Most High is described with pavement under his feet as being bright as blue in Exodus 24:10. Now, I quickly Googled a lot of these just so somebody that had curiosity could Google it, okay? The ancient Persians believed that the earth rested on a giant sapphire and that its reflection gave the sky its blue color. Jewish tradition holds that Moshe was given the 10 Commandments on tablets of sapphire, making it the most sacred gemstone. Says 49 times the Bible mentions a perfect, pure blue. a color so magnificent and transcendent that it was all but impossible to describe. It's also interesting in the rainbow that the other colors either rise up from it or come down from that blue spectrum where it's in the middle. And it all boils down to, folks, the law of the living creator is inscribed on blue sapphire. All right. So that's probably, it's just intriguing to me that in the flag that would represent that community, that the one color that would represent the Most High Yah's laws is not present at all. And I don't think that's by accident. And I found that just an interesting fact whenever I was reviewing through it. Now, something that's been just mind-blowing to me here lately is that as you look at scripture, Proverbs 16:18, pride goeth before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. As we build up to the situation and scenario that we're at right now, the current agenda, okay, which is this is all about getting the children, is that like I said, they're just using certain communities to exploit them. Currently, I feel like they're using the LGBTQ community to exploit that. Is that we seen years ago in the previous years past where that the elderly have been tried to be encouraged to self-delete and assisted suicide and get rid of them and etc. because they want the depopulation agenda. Well, then, 2019 rolled around and CV19 rolled around. And then we seen where that it shifted from deleting elderly people as much as possible to contaminating and deleting as many people as possible in the middle-aged group, which would be, I would say, from the early 20s up to the 50s. And then now the shift is, okay, we've done about all we can with elderly. We've done about all we can with the middle-aged people. Let's focus on the next generation coming up. Let's do anything we can to depopulate or destroy them. And it's like, okay, well, what do? Well, you encourage people to not be binary of some kind. You encourage them to self-mutilate. You encourage them to do anything that doesn't produce a human being. You change their mindsets. You change their belief systems. And we're seeing this pushed heavily in front of our face, like the one with Bud Light. I feel like it was the snowball, the tip of the iceberg that has started this descent. And when you see right here is that when this started, when you look at the backlash that happened after that, Bud Light maker Anheuser-Busch has lost a whopping $27 billion in market value in the wake of its star-crossed partnership with Dylan Mulvaney, most recently slammed by a 4% stock drop this week. That, folks, was 8 days ago that this article right here in the New York Post, okay? The one that really got me is that the Target, I will not shop there. I have no intention of shopping there ever again. I seen this one, and this one really got me, is that they was the, if I got it on here, hold on. Yeah, okay, it's in another slide coming up, the tuck-friendly stuff and all this, but it was onesies. They had baby onesies pushing a sexual agenda on them. Now, I got to be honest with you. This is where it really, really starts getting wild, okay? Like, it's one thing to have this going on with drinking and everything, right? But this went completely unhinged. Is U.S. retailer Target has lost $10 billion in market valuation in 10 days over controversy around its pride-themed clothing for children. That means that at the rate they were bleeding and hemorrhaging money, that is $1 billion a day, every day the door is open. Folks, I don't know, this may not be computable for some people, but as a person that manages a factory for another person that owns a place, I'm always mindful of dollars coming in and going out and how we represent ourselves and etc. I did this whenever I owned my own business, off-grid contracting. And, even with Black Flag crypto mining now, I'm going to be mindful of how I conduct myself. But this right here is crazy. And the department store chain has been facing boycott calls from people across the U.S. after some videos claim to show onesies and other dresses meant for toddlers and other children. And it absolutely was there. And this one was a really interesting quote that Shark Tank star Kevin O'Leary says targets $15 billion stunning collapse should warn other CEOs against woke policies. When you lose $11 billion of market cap, there's a lot of unhappy cowboys out there. They're called your investors, Kevin O'Leary. And right there's that tuck-friendly, excuse me, construction, extra crotch coverage and stuff. Guys, this is just wild, okay? I mean, absolutely wild. And you go on, and I mean, it just keeps tracking. I was in Florida, and of course, while I was down there, I seen they've got that going on at oh my gosh, the festivals, all that stuff going on in Florida right now. Well, Disney, if you look at their thing right now, in 2022, literally lost 40%. Guys, I'm so sorry. 40% of their stock value, right? And now it's to the point where they're literally in talks, I've seen, to potentially sell Lucasfilm back to George Lucas. They may have to sell off some of their parks. They may have to sell off a bunch of their stuff to get liquid capital. Like, this is getting crazy. And these companies are like literally self-destructing themselves. Here is the, I think it was the gay raptor is what they're referring to it. It was in the news articles, and I seen the commercial for this. I'm just like, wow. I mean, they are just pulling out all the stops. But there was the gay raptor. And now I haven't seen Ford's stocks or anything like that recent. I don't know how that's going to look here in the very near future. But what is intriguing to me, and if you're somebody that identifies with the LGBT community plus, or whatever you want to label it at this point, this one really got me, is that if you look at Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Cisco, Lenovo, Bethesda, you have all these companies, these corporations, these huge corporations, and they pander in America here where that it's legal to do so and kind of tolerate and accept it, as you would say. They want to push that. But now in the Middle East, where that is absolutely a no-go and you will not behave in that manner, they don't have their logos looking like that in any way, shape, or form. And so what I would point out to everyone is that companies, all they care about is money, and they will play to whoever for whatever cause to get a dollar out of them. And that's, all these evil companies are evil groomers seeking to devour our children. Absolutely. And what it really boils down to, too, is that now I got this collage of all these news companies saying the exact same thing. And there's actually, I did some research on that recently, and the CIA had a agenda back in the day, and I forget the exact name of it if somebody wants to drop it in the comments section. But anyway, they had this word that they would tell all these media companies what to say and say the same thing. And they had it all under lockdown. And that's where that we are currently, is that most of these media companies, news companies, are owned by the same conglomerates. And so they're all told what to tell everyone, and they do. And it's right down the line. Everybody says the same thing. And that is currently what's going on with the media right now. Is this another agenda that they're pushing, is the market and to sell non-binaryism, speaking pronouns. They want everyone to not be Project Mockingbird. Thank you so much. Love Yahweh. Thank you so much for that. Project Mockingbird is that they want to have everyone to a point where that they don't think anything about procreation with the other sex anymore, creating families, building legacy. They don't want that going on anymore. And here's the thing, like I said, from the elderly, they've went full path of self-deletion to, hey, kill yourself off so we can harvest your organs and sell them, to the young people. from 20s up to the early 50s. Hey, come and let's put poison in your body. If y'all know what I'm talking about, if you live between 2019 to 2023, you know what I'm talking about, that agenda that was pushed heavily on the news. And then eventually, now it's please, children, self-mutilate yourself, be transgender, be non-binary, don't procreate. By all means, don't procreate. Don't even think about having a family. Don't even think about being with a significant other and building a life together. Just don't be at all if you can. Yeah, and David, that wouldn't surprise me at all. There's actually, I think he was on the Joe Rogan show podcast, talked about that, you know, a lot of the people that hold the funding at the top of these companies have these companies push these agendas because it's part of their deal if they get the money. And so these companies do that. And then what ends up happening is people get angry at these companies. And so they end up making these companies go bankrupt, which hurts the workers and hurts the workers' families that actually work for it, because they don't really support those agendas. It's just these CEOs and these board members and these people at the very top that are doing this, forcing everybody else to do it to keep the money coming in the coffers, because the people that do hold the money at the very, very top are pushing these agendas down on them. And yeah, the media is owned by Big Pharma. Listen, folks, you got to understand something. Politicians, the media, man, let me think this through for a second. Most book publication companies probably, I mean, like a massive chunk of the world is owned by big pharmaceutical and big tech. Okay. They own like a ton of stuff. I'm talking from farmland up to politicians, the works. They have their hands and their tentacles into everything. All right. And they're like the Kraken trying to pull a ship down. I mean, they've got their tentacles wrapped around every bit part of this ship, and they're trying to take us all down with it. And Big Pharma is the tool by which I would say Satan is definitely helping to destroy the world right now by one way or another. And it is what it is. But now moving forward, this right here, this whole conversation we've had for the past 40-something minutes, this is what it all boils down to, is that the depopulation agenda is in full swing. Now, a lot of people in the past years have been poisoned, and now they're dying. And a lot of, if you notice, a lot of people are passing away by myocarditis, which is shocking, because I don't know what could have been administered to them in the past 3 years that could have caused myocarditis. I mean, do you? But you got that. You've got the elderly can't reproduce, and they're making sure that they self-delete and get their body parts harvested and organs harvested. And then the young, they want to make sure that there can't be no more born, if at all possible. And then those that are born are being indoctrinated from the earliest stages to think in ways that are not normal to our biological programming of our body. Okay. It is not normal. Okay. People can identify, be, do, say whatever they want. That's their life. But if you look at things biologically, this is not how things are supposed to be. And there's that study done with rats too. I think it was 23 generations or something like that was what it was called. And after a while, the rats stopped reproducing. They started being homosexual tendencies. They started doing all these things after X amount of times reproduced within a certain controlled environment and things like this. And it's like they literally they are trying to replicate that in real life with us human beings. I really believe it. And yes, the life is in the blood. The secret's in the blood. That's the gold. Absolutely. And that's what they're after, is that they want to destroy anything, any shred that is human being. They want to destroy it. Satan hates us. Satan's demons hates us. This whole pronoun usage, if you look at it throughout the pages of Scripture, it is used in conjunction when demons are together. I'm telling you, like, there is there is a lot of interweaving webs here. You know, that absolutely, the Baphomet, you know, that's something I didn't even throw in here. But it is a trans figure. Absolutely. I honestly, I can't even believe that slipped my mind. There's just so much to cover on this stuff. Like you can just go layers and layers and layers and layers deep. But yes, the Baphomet that is worshipped in a lot of Satanism and the occult, it is a trans figure, and it's really crazy. This is just really, really crazy. And it is a agenda that is currently being pushed hard, and it is being pushed at such a velocity, as you can see, and I've shown, is that whole corporations and companies that have took generations to build are bleeding and hemorrhaging money at a rate that many of them be dead within a year as a financial institution. Like, they cannot survive those kind of, like, when you start losing money at the rate of billions of dollars, folks, you are at game over. All right. It is at end game. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you die as a company. Like when you see Disney selling off Lucasfilm and a lot of people don't care about this stuff, and it's fine. I'm just using these as prominent points that people know about across the board. It's when you see media company as big as Disney buy Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, which encompasses Star Wars, Indiana Jones, big names like that. And then they turn around and then they run it in the ground, and then they run their agendas down everyone's throat, and then they turn around and they end up selling back a whole build up of something that they worked on and took from another company, and then to turn around and sell it back to those companies for probably less than they bought it for, should send red flags up like a Chinese communist parade. All right. Like that is how far gone these companies are. And think about this too, is these are the ones that are shining through right now as a failure because they are the most visible, right? They're the most visible. This agenda is being pushed from the top all the way down through big companies, small companies, school systems, government. I mean, this is the current thing. Now, for anybody that's in the LGBTQ community that's still listening to me, like this is just the group that you may ascribe to right now. This is just your group being, what is the word? Exploited, used, and then will be cast aside. And yeah, and then it will be moved on to something else. I remember whenever the Black Lives Matter thing was the thing being pushed at the time, which turned out to be that they actually didn't care about helping any Black lives, is that they took that money and just ran through it. And it was a bunch of actually lesbians that started that Black Lives Matter thing anyway. Whenever that was brought out, you see all of a sudden how that kind of fizzled out and died out. But at the time, the white man was the most evil person on earth. I remember the reparations thing politicians were talking about and all that. And it's just, we go through these cyclic things where that it's, right now it's Pride Month, right? And I've noticed that it is being, right here is a great word for it, weaponized. That's what's being used currently. And it's been a big thing now being pushed subtly over the past generation. And the reason being that it has been pushed so heavily, in my personal assessment, is it's so to dehumanize us and to not produce human beings. I don't hate anyone. I am just telling you, there is always an agenda being at work whenever minorities are being pushed to the forefront. Like, it don't matter if it was Black Lives Matter, the LGBTQ community, the Asian community, I don't care who it is, the Y community. If we're being pushed to the forefront, oh my gosh, the bus is coming and it's going to roll us right over. But that is the state of the nation, and that is the state of where this heads if that your children are being put in the forefront of this stuff. Seeing this is what goes. War heroes get one day. Yeah. Yep, that's it. Yeah. War heroes get one day. The LGBTQ and Y get a whole month. Yep. And I'm just saying, guys, you can really read between the lines on a lot of this stuff, but you need to be mindful if you are a parent. This is a war that is going to have to be fought for into the. I mean, this is going to last a generation. Matter of fact, there's a whole generation that is half, or I'd say a third through their life now, that this has been enamored into their minds. There is this picture, this last thing I'll share on this particular subset. There was a picture of a girl, beautiful young girl, that went to college, and within 2 years, she was already a different person, believed differently, thought differently, I think, about her gender, the whole works. That's what college did in 2 years. Okay. 2 years. You do not have to have a ton of time put into stuff to radically transform people's mind. If you indoctrinate them daily, hammer these thoughts into somebody's head daily, it does not take that long. Okay. So just keep that in mind. But I thought this was a great way to finish it off, is that the rainbow and that child on that cloud is that children are a gift from Yahuwah. They are a reward from him. That's Psalms, I think it's 127:5, I believe is where that's at. And forgive me if I misquoted scripture. It's in the book of Psalms. But they, matter of fact, hold on. Let me take the banner down. I think it's on it. No, I apologize. I thought I had that on that. But let's see right here. How are you? Good to see you. How's your blood pressure issue now? Do you believe the adversary's time is short and he's pulling out all on the innocent? Yeah, absolutely, I do. And that's what demons do in 2 years. You got it, serving them, y'all. And yeah, guys, my blood pressure is definitely stabilized out. I've been taking, I'm still taking blood pressure medicine currently, but I've been taking dandelion root, ashwagandha, L-citrulline supplement, a multivitamin, and that has vitamin and minerals, a massive amount of it. I'm going to go through the 90 vitamins and minerals that make up the human body. I'm going to go through that list, and I'm going to look at everything I'm already taking that gives me 100% or more each day value. And I'm going to look whatever I'm short on. I'm going to continue to build up on that diet regimen to get that to where that I've got all that in my body, if at all possible, to help, hopefully stabilize that out, stress management, some other stuff. And guys, it's been a stressful past 5 years. I mean, went through a divorce, lost my home, eventually had to sell my business. It 127:3. Thank you, Dana. And Psalms 127:3 is that scripture, guys. And like you just, man, if you tallied up all the junk that's went on in my life in the past 5 years, my life was fine, and then it was just, and then finally now it's starting to just level out again, y'all willing. And so I hope that things stay leveled out, because we're got some turbulent times and years ahead of all of us, and I definitely do not need to be in bad health having to face that, because the two groups that is going to struggle the worst, in my personal assessment, when this time does really kick off full blast and the 7 trumpets of Revelation hit, is that you're going to have the elderly and the children, the youth. They're going to struggle the worst with this, because the elderly can barely come in and go out, and the youth are going to be terrified, and probably a lot of them not going to have the strength to see it through. And it's sad, and it is the situation that we're in. So, long and short of it, we just need to all be getting our minds wrapped around the direction we're headed, because these agendas that are being pushed, they are all about depopulation. The elderly, assisted suicide. It's not about, hey, trying to help the older people not suffer and blah, blah, blah. No, it's about getting rid of them, harvesting their organs, making money for pharmaceutical drug sorcery companies. The youth, it's about poisoning their brain right now with all this crazy stuff. And then also, what was the other thing I was going to say is, and then the middle age group is to they've spent the past 3 years trying to toxify their blood. If you're on blood pressure medicine, don't take dandelion root. Only take dandelion root if you're not on pharmacy. I have been researching this. Oh, that's interesting. Hey, if you could email me that at 7trumpetsprepper@gmail.com, I'd be very curious and interested to see what's up on that. Let's see what you said there. Thank you for this live stream. I know all these topics can be taxing. We appreciate all of your hard work and due diligence. No worries, guys. Hopefully this one don't get took down. And what do we got here? Oh yeah, that's another thing that's on my list to order is cayenne pepper. I found some, but they had pork gelatin in the thing, so I'm finding some vegetarian ones that's got the pepper in it and everything. But guys, anyway, I'm going to wrap this stream up for the day. As always, please make sure to stop what you're doing right now and hit the like button. Share this content on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you can share it. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. And guys, if you'd like to drop a donation on the channel, hey, I don't care if it's $1. It's appreciated. Thank you very much for any support. And as always, guys, until we see you again here at 7 Trumpets Prepper channel, hope the Most High Yah baruch you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, show you favor, and give you shalom, my friends. In Yahushua's name. Love y'all.